Hello, I'm Susan Smith Nash, and you're listening to the Fringe Journal. And I want to start today by taking a moment to offer many prayers for the victims of the tragic flooding at summer camps in Texas, including Camp Mystic in the heart of the Hill Country. What happened over the 4th of July weekend is truly heart-rending. The piece I am sharing here was written before the tragedy. It offers memories, but changes identities as a tribute to the life-changing experience of Kickapoo Kamp, hoping it encourages others to spend a moment to reflect on their own happy memories. And again, I just want to say it's just devastating to read about the flooding. Anyway, so thank you, and here is Turning Point at Turtle Creek. And as another point, this is the 100-year anniversary of Kickapoo Kamp near Kerrville, Texas. Speakers near the recreation hall blared Golden Earrings, Radar Love for what must have been the 10th time that day. Battery-powered radios scattered around camp added to the soundtrack of the summer of 1973. Grand Funk Railroad's We're an American Band, Elton John's Daniel, Vicki Lawrence's The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia competed with the constant refrain of Locomotion by Grand Funk Railroad that the younger girls couldn't seem to get enough of. From the direction of the counselor's cabin came the melodic Eres Tú by Mocedades, its Spanish lyrics floating across the campgrounds, while someone else had tuned into a station playing Sister Janet Mead's rock version of the Lord's Prayer, the unexpected hit by the Australian nun who had become an international sensation. Jenny Dyer shifted uncomfortably on the wooden bench, tugging at the hem of her short shorts that seemed determined to ride up her thighs. All around, girls chatted excitedly, their voices creating a cacophony that mirrored the chaos inside her head. Why did I agree to this? 5 weeks at Camp Kickapoo near Kerrville, Texas. 5 weeks of trying to be someone she wasn't, someone who could easily make friends, someone who didn't overthink every social interaction, someone thin. There you are. Jenny looked up to see Melody Boker waving enthusiastically, her blonde ponytail swinging behind her. As she navigated through the crowd, behind her trailed her younger sister Nancy, whose perpetual half-smile always made Jenny wonder what private joke she was enjoying. The Boker girls were the reason why she was here. Ted Boker and her father, David Dyer, had been thick as thieves since their days at the University of Oklahoma, where they had bonded over rock formations and late-night study sessions for their geology master's degrees. While her father had gone on to become district geologist for Samadan, first in Ardmore, where Jenny was born, and later in Oklahoma City, Ted had taken a teaching position at the University of Texas. Dad's looking for you, Caitlin said, plopping down beside Jenny. They're announcing cabin assignments in 10 minutes. Oh, great, Jenny murmured, fighting the flutter of anxiety in her chest. New cabin mates meant new people to impress, new people to inevitably disappoint. Aren't you excited? Melissa asked, her eyes wide with genuine curiosity. At 13, she possessed a sincerity that Jenny envied. Second session is supposed to be the best. The swimming hole will be perfect by now. Jenny forced a smile. Oh, can't wait. At least in the water, she felt comfortable. On the Oklahoma City swim team, she'd found a place where her body was an asset, not something to be criticized. Her mother's voice still echoed in her head. Jenny, honey, maybe just half a portion? Getting a little chubby for summer shorts. Last month, she'd won bronze in the 200-meter butterfly at the Oklahoma Junior Olympics and had placed 8th in the 200-meter freestyle. In the water, she was graceful, powerful. On land, she was just chunky. Come on, Caitlin said, tugging at her arm. Let's go find out who we're bunking with. Cabin Osage housed 4 girls under the Choctaw tribe designation. Jenny, Caitlin, a tall girl named Debbie from Houston, and a quiet, bookish girl called Laurie from Austin. The cabin itself was rustic. Wooden bunk beds with thin mattresses, a small dresser for each camper, and a shared bathroom with lukewarm water at best. And then there were the camper chests that were used for footlockers where everything was kept as well. Jenny claimed the bottom bunk beneath Diana, unpacking the stack of books she brought. Future Shock by Alvin Toffler, The Peter Principle, a collection of Jorge Luis Borges ficciones that her English teacher had recommended, Franz Kafka's short stories, and her favorite, Richard Bradford's Red Sky at Morning, novels about plucky heroines who prevailed against all odds were her comfort food for the mind, while Butterfingers and Buttertop Bread were her comfort food for the body. Are you really going to read all these? Vanessa asked, peering over her shoulder. It's summer camp, not summer school. Jenny felt her face flush. I just like reading. Leave her alone, Diana said quietly, not looking up from her own book, something with a worn spine and yellow pages. What are you reading? Jenny asked, grateful for the intervention. The Bell Jar, Diana replied, showing the cover. Sylvia Plath. Jenny's eyes widened. I've been wanting to read that. You can borrow it when I'm done, Laurie offered with a small smile. I've read it twice already. As Boethius writes in The Consolation of Philosophy, it's through adversity that we discover our true selves, Jenny said, then immediately regretted it. There she went again, dropping medieval philosophy into casual conversation. But Laurie just nodded thoughtfully. I've heard of that, but have never read it. Tell me more later? Before Jenny could respond, Melody, who had been organizing her makeup collection on the dresser top, turned around. If you 2 bookworms are done bonding over ancient dead guys, we should head to the dining hall. It's almost dinner time, and I heard it's fried chicken night. Jenny's stomach rumbled in anticipation, followed immediately by her mother's voice in her head. Chunky girls don't get asked to homecoming, Jenny Savigny. Dyer. I'm not that hungry, she lied. Diana looked at her curiously. You should eat something. Tomorrow's the first activity day. You'll need your energy. Something in Diana's tone, understanding without pity, made Jenny nod. Well, maybe just a little. The first week at Camp Kickapoo fell into a rhythm. Mornings were swimming in Turtle Creek, where Jenny quickly established herself as one of the strongest swimmers. Afternoons rotated between crafts, hiking, archery, free time. Evenings were for campfires, sing-alongs, and on Fridays, a social with the boys' camp across the lake. Jenny found herself drawn to Diana, who shared her love of books and didn't fill silences with meaningless chatter. One afternoon during free time, they sprawled out under a live oak reading. What would you be doing if you were home right now? Diana asked, marking her place in the bell jar. Jenny considered. Well, probably the same thing, reading or sketching. You sketch? Jenny nodded, reluctantly pulling out her battered sketchbook from her backpack. Just designs, nothing good. Diana flipped to the pages of clothing designs, angular business suits with unexpected details, school outfits that balanced practicality with flashes of personal expression. These are amazing, Jenny. Well, they're just doodles, Jenny mumbled, but pleasure warmed her chest. You could be a designer someday. That's not a real job, Jenny replied, automatically echoing her mother's dismissal. Says who? Diana challenged. My aunt's a buyer for Neiman Marcus. She says fashion is serious business. Jenny's eyes widened. Really? Do you think I mean, could she look at my sketches sometime? I'll ask her to write to me. She would love these, Diana promised. In that moment, between the Texas oak with cicadas buzzing in the background and radar love drifting from someone's smuggled in transistor radio, Jenny felt something unfamiliar, a possibility. A Spanish language station faded in and out as someone adjusted the dial, catching fragments of Yo te recuerdo by Juan Gabriel before settling back to American Top 40. During the second week, Jenny gained a reputation as an impressive runner during the camp's annual morning jogs. Her swimmer's endurance served her really well on the trails around camp, though she remained self-conscious about how her thighs looked in the required shorts. So she kept on going. How are you not dying? Gasped Caitlin after one particularly grueling uphill section. Her face flushed. Jenny shrugged. Swimming. It's good for your lungs. Well, that's not fair, Vanessa complained good-naturedly. Some of us are suffering back here. I'll wait with you guys, Jenny offered, surprised at her own confidence. No way, said Melissa, who caught up to them. You're going to win the Choctaw points. Cherokee is killing us in archery. The tribal competition was fierce at Camp Kickapoo, with each activity earning points toward an end-of-session trophy. Jenny had never been a key player in any team before, and the feeling was intoxicating. That evening at dinner, she surprised herself by taking a full portion of shepherd's pie, eating slowly and thoughtfully, while listening to Diana talk about the latest news on the Watergate hearings. Nixon's going to resign, Diana predicted. My dad says it's just a matter of time. My dad says he should have resigned months ago, Vanessa contributed. The whole country's waiting for that other shoe to drop. It's like we can't trust anything anymore, Jenny said quietly. Like everything we thought was solid is actually, well, I don't know, quicksand or something. Alvin Toffler talks about this in Future Shock, how rapid change creates a kind of disorientation. But really, it reminds me more of what Aquinas explores in Summa Theologica, about truth and authority. The table fell silent for a moment. That's deep, Dyer, Melody finally said, but not unkindly. She adjusted the macrame choker around her neck, a perfect compliment to her tie-dyed camp shirt. Sorry, Jenny mumbled, tugging at her own plain t-shirt. I've been overthinking again. No, you're right, Diana said. It's like what Kafka writes about. The world's suddenly not making sense anymore. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Can we not talk about Kafka at dinner? I'm trying to keep this down. I don't need Grigor Samsa, the giant human cockroach, crawling around in my head. We had to read that last year for English. They all laughed. Jenny felt a strange warmth through her chest. This is what it felt like to be part of a conversation, to have her thoughts considered. By the third week, Jenny had fallen into an unlikely friendship with her cabin mates. Even Debbie, initially intimidating with her Highland Park confidence and designer clothes, had revealed herself to be funny and fiercely loyal. Melody remained a social butterfly, but had taken to asking Jenny's advice about books worth reading. Melody, dressed one evening in her new low-rise hip-hugger jeans with the wide cuffs that had become all the rage that summer, her polyester shirt with its butterfly collar matched perfectly with her platform sandals. My mom just sent these, she announced, twirling to show off the ensemble. What do you think? Totally fabulous, Debbie declared, looking up from her own outfit, denim hot pants paired with a crocheted vest over halter top. Jenny, you should borrow my suede fringe vest sometime. It would look dynamite with those culottes you wore yesterday. Jenny glanced down at her plain camp t-shirt, long shorts. Back home, her mom still pushed her toward the chubby section at JCPenney, ignoring the fact that Jenny desperately wanted to wear the same fashions as everyone else, the peasant blouses, maxi dresses, wide-legged pants that dominated teen magazines. One hot afternoon, they escaped the Texas heat by taking refuge in their cabin. Laurie had brought a battery-powered radio, and they tuned to a station playing the melancholy strains of Cat Stevens. From cabins nearby, Roberta Flax, Killing Me Softly with his song, drifted through the air while somebody else blasted Paul McCartney's My Love, loud enough to hear across the compound. So this Cat Stevens collection, the first song was from Harold and Maude, Jenny said, surprised. Don't be shy. Oh my goodness, I love the song. You've seen the movie? Diana nodded 3 times. My mom thinks it's inappropriate, which makes it even better. She hates the song. If you want to sing out, sing out. What's Harold and Maude? Melissa asked, having stopped by to borrow sunscreen. Only the best movie ever, Jenny said with uncharacteristic enthusiasm. It's about this young man who's obsessed with death and this old woman who teaches him how to really live. It sounds weird, Caitlin said, wrinkling her nose. It's beautiful, Diana countered, and the Cat Stevens soundtrack is perfect. Well, if there's a sad boy and old lady, why is it your favorite? Vanessa asked Jenny curiously. Jenny hesitated. She wasn't used to explaining her inner landscape to others. I guess it's because, well, it's about finding your own way to be happy, even if it's not what anyone says happiness should look like. She ran a hand through her hair, wishing she had Melody's fashionable shank haircut instead of her ordinary shoulder-length style. Dante explores this in Vita Nuova, the idea that true happiness comes from a kind of inner transformation. And Avicenna talks about how the soul needs to recognize its own nature to find fulfillment. Diana added, the fake suicide attempts are really funny. And then you realize that Harold is actually making a statement about America and Vietnam, how death cultish it was to have the young go to Vietnam to be traumatized, badly wounded, and killed. The death scenes are funny because he's trying to shock his mom, who's just a total nightmare and cares only about her social events and not her son's well-being. And then he meets the totally free spirit Maude. Anyway, it's a long story, and there's just so much to it, especially when you find out that Maude is a Holocaust survivor who tells Harold to relish life. And, added Jenny, you have to do what you love, not what someone else prescribes for you. The cabin was quiet, except for Cat Stevens singing softly about trouble. Outside, someone's transistor radio blasted Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On, a song that counselors were constantly trying to ban from camp. From the direction of the lake came the soulful lyrics of Eres Tu, which had become an unlikely crossover hit in Texas that summer, especially popular in the Hill Country, with a strong Mexican-American influence. It actually makes sense, Nancy said, finally adjusting her mood ring. Like how my dad wanted me to love geology like him, but I want to be a veterinarian. Jenny smiled. Exactly. Well, my idea of happiness right now would be not melting in this heat, Vanessa announced. Secret swimming hole? The counselors are all at their meeting. Dinah raised an eyebrow. The one past the restricted trail? That's the one, Vanessa confirmed with a mischievous grin. We could get in trouble, Caitlin pointed out, but she was already reaching for her swimsuit. Jenny felt a flutter of anxiety. I don't know. Come on, Jenny, Dinah urged quietly. Live a little dangerously. The phrase, so reminiscent of Maud's philosophy, made Jenny smile despite herself. Okay, but if we get caught, I'm blaming all of you. The secret swimming hole was a revelation. A deep, clear pool formed by a natural dam of limestone, shaded by bald cypress trees with their feathery foliage and knobby knees protruding from the water. The limestone walls of the swimming hole were striated with bands of darker material telling a geological story that Jenny wished her father was there to read. It's like Keats wrote, Jenny said, gazing up at the dappled light filtering through the cypress branches. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. It will never pass into nothingness. You really do have poetry for everything, Debbie said, but she was smiling as she dipped her toes in the cool water. A flash of movement caught Jenny's eye. A six-lined race runner with lizard was darting across the sun-warmed rocks, its bright blue stripes vibrating against the limestone. Further, up on the bank, amid a tangle of Mustang grapevines, the distinctive black and yellow pattern of a Texas patch-nosed snake was visible as it slithered away from their voices. They slipped into the cool water with sighs relief from the July heat. The creek bottom was a mosaic of smooth limestone and river pebbles, with occasional patches of soft sand collected in the deeper parts. Jenny floated on her back, gazing up at the dappled sunlight through the leaves. For once, she wasn't thinking about how her body looked in her swimsuit, or what her mother would say about her sneaking off. She was simply present in her body, feeling the water support her weight, hearing her friends' laughter echo off the limestone walls. Racing to the other side, Vanessa challenged, and without thinking, Jenny flipped over and took off with powerful strokes. After easily winning, she treaded water, waiting for the others. Diana arrived second, her technique less polished but effective. Show off, Vanessa called out when she reached them, splashing Jenny playfully. I can't help it if I'm part fish, Jenny retorted, splashing back. You really are amazing, Diana said. You could probably swim in college. The thought hadn't occurred to Jenny before. Swimming had always been something that she did, not something she could build a future around. You think? Absolutely, Diana nodded. My cousin got a scholarship to swim at Rice. A scholarship, a way out, a path forward that had nothing to do with being chunky or pretty or normal, just being strong. I might look into that, Jenny said thoughtfully. That night at the campfire, Jenny sat between Diane and Melissa, toasting marshmallows for s'mores without her usual guilt about calories. The past 3 weeks had changed something fundamental in her relationship with food. She wasn't cured. She still heard her mother's critical voice, but she began to see food as fuel for swimming, for running, for living. Ted Boker stopped by their his geology professor's beard even wilder in the firelight. Having fun, girls? The best, Dad, Caitlin assured him. Glad to hear it. He turned to Jenny. I got a letter from your father today. He said to say that he's proud of you for trying something new this summer. Jenny felt a lump in her throat. Her father, unlike her mother, had always accepted her as she was, bookish, analytical, and yes, a little chunky. Thanks, Mr. Boker. You remind me of him at your age, Ted continued, always with your nose in a book, always asking the big questions. I do? The comparison startled her. She never thought of herself as being like her father. Absolutely. He's the only other undergraduate who wanted to debate medieval philosophy while we were supposed to be studying rock formations. Ted winked. You've got his mind. It's a gift, even if it makes life complicated sometimes. As he moved on to check on other campers, Diana nudged her. Medieval philosophy, huh? You've been holding out on us. Jenny blushed. It's just something I read about once. Don't do that, Diana said firmly. Don't make yourself smaller. What do you mean? You do this thing where you know something interesting and have a unique thought, and then you apologize for it. Diana's gaze was steady in the firelight. Stop apologizing for being smart. Across the fire, someone had started playing Radar Love on a guitar, and the familiar notes floated up with sparks on the fire. We're driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel, the counselor sang. Others joined in. Jenny looked around the circle at Diana with her quiet intensity, Caitlin braiding Melissa's hair, and Vanessa teaching younger campers a complicated hand-clapping game. For the first time, in longer than she could remember, she felt a sense of belonging. The fourth week brought the Camp Olympics, a day of intense competition between the tribes. The Choctaws were trailing the Cherokees by a narrow margin. The final event was the lake swim, 4 laps of the march course, each tribe fielding their strongest swimmer. Has to be you, Jenny, Melissa insisted during the strategy session. You're our best shot. Jenny felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her chest. What if I mess up? You won't, said Diana with certainty. But what if I do? The anxiety that had been her constant companion for years bubbled up. What if I let everyone down? Vanessa put her hands on Jenny's shoulders. Then we'll still be your friends. That simple declaration stunned Jenny into silence. It's just a game, Caitlin added. A fun one that we really want to win, but it's still just a game. Jenny took a deep breath. Okay. At the lake's edge, Jenny adjusted her swim cap, trying to ignore the crowd of campers cheering. The Cherokee swimmer was Kimberly, a tall girl from Dallas who had been eyeing Jenny with respect, mingled with competitive fire all week. Swimmers, take your marks, called the head counselor. Jenny closed her eyes briefly, centering herself. In her mind, she was back at the Junior Olympics, feeling the water welcome her. The whistle blew, she dove. The world narrowed to the rhythm of her strokes, the burn in her muscles, the steady pattern of her breathing. She was vaguely aware of Abigail beside her, matching her pace. At the first turn, they were neck and neck. By the second lap, Jenny had settled into the meditative state that always came with during long swims. Her mind, usually buzzing with anxious thoughts, quieted. There was only the water, the movement, the steady beat of her heart. On the third lap, Abigail began to flag slightly. Jenny maintained her pace, letting her endurance carry her. The final lap was pure joy, the knowledge that her body was strong, capable, carrying her toward the finish, while the voices of her tribe mates urged her on. And when her hand touched the dock, seconds before Kimberly's and Abigail's, the explosion of cheers barely registered. What she would remember later was the feeling of being lifted from the water by many hands, and Diana's fierce hug, regardless of how wet she was, of Vanessa's uncharacteristic whoop of victory, and Caitlin jumping up and down while Melissa chanted, "Choctaw, Choctaw." That night, celebrating their overall victory with an extra hour of campfire time, Jenny found herself writing in her journal, not self-recriminating thoughts or angsty poetry, but a letter to her future self. Remember this feeling, she wrote. Remember that you are more than what people see or say. Remember that you can be strong and smart and weird and still find your people. She paused, chewing on her pen, then added, as Boethius would say, fortune's wheel turns for everyone. Today it has turned in my favor. The Peter Principle suggests that people rise to the levels of incompetence. But maybe sometimes we also rise to our level of unexpected excellence. Maybe Aquinas was right about how virtue is cultivated through practice, swimming laps, making friends, being brave enough to be myself. Across the campfire, Melody was showing off her new Indian print gauze blouse and elephant bell-bottoms that her mother had sent in a care package. Her cork-soled platform shoes made her tower over everyone else. Next to her, Debbie had paired some spectacular striped pants with a peasant blouse, adding puka shell beads that gleamed in the firelight. The final week of camp arrived with the bittersweet knowledge that their time together was coming to an end. Jenny had exchanged addresses with Diana, Vanessa, and of course, the Boker girls. On their last free afternoon, Jenny and Diana returned to their spot under the live oak, now a place of comfortable silences and deep conversations. Are you scared to go home? Diana asked suddenly. Jenny considered the question. A little. I'm different now, but home will always be the same. Maybe that's good, Diana suggested. Maybe home needs you to be different. Maybe. Jenny plucked at the grass beside her. I'm going to miss this, miss you. We'll write, Diana promised, and maybe next summer. Yeah, maybe. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the distant sound of the camp, shouts from the ball field, someone playing piano in the rec hall, and the ever-present radar love from someone's radio. Hey, Diana said suddenly, I never asked you why you came to camp this summer. You don't seem like the typical camp person. Jenny hesitated and then decided on honesty. I was, not in a good place this past year. My parents were worried, and my dad thought that being with the Boker girls might help. Diana nodded, understanding without requiring details. Did it help? Jenny looked over the camp, the dusty paths between the buildings, the shimmer of heat rising from the roofs, the lake glittering in the distance. She thought about her body carrying her through water and over trails. She thought about her mind finally finding people who didn't flinch when she mentioned Kafka or medieval philosophy. Yeah, she said softly, it did. 5 weeks at Camp Kickapoo near Kerrville, Texas, in the summer of Watergate and Radar Love. 5 weeks that had somehow managed to be a lifetime. Somewhere inside her, the girl who had arrived, lonely, self-conscious, hiding behind books and comfort food, was still there. But along her now was someone new, someone who could win races and make friends, someone who could remain analytical and bookish without using it as armor. What are you thinking about? Laurie asked, her own outfit a perfectly on-trend combination of smock top and wide-legged jeans. Her parted hair fell straight and long, a quintessential early 70s look that Jenny had always admired. Jenny tugged at the hem of her simple shorts, but for once didn't feel self-conscious about her lack of fashion sense or her athletic build. Here at camp, her strength had become a source of pride rather than shame. And somewhere in the distance, some of the Hispanic campers were playing Tu y Yo by Roberto Carlos. Its romantic lyrics a reminder of the rich cultural blend of Texas. I was thinking about Avicenna's concept of the flying man, Jenny said, surprised at her own candor. The idea that even if you were created suspended in the air, unable to see or touch anything, you would still be aware of your own existence, that your sense of self is independent of your body or surroundings. She smiled. And I was thinking about the future and how maybe it doesn't have to be a shock after all. So there's my draft of this story. There are a few things I need to change. Like I need to make sure that I talk about the foot lockers that we used. And also, I was talking about 1970s fashion because I wanted to put those sort of markers in there. But it's important to keep in mind that the colors for Camp Kickapoo, there's a green and white. So everybody had a Camp Kickapoo shirt that had green. It said Camp Kickapoo or Kickapoo Camp. And then for Choctaws, it was blue. And I was a Choctaw, so I had a blue shirt that had a t-shirt with a blue blue collar, and then a logo, and it's a Choctaw. And then the Cherokees were red, and they had red necks, band collar, or not a collar, but the t-shirt neck was red, and then the logo and the lettering Cherokee is red. So that's important to keep in mind. We had to have white shorts and a white shirt, and I don't really remember if we had green scarves or anything, or maybe I'm confusing that with. I went to Camp Nutty Chaha in Oklahoma, but that was much earlier. Those were grades 4th, 5th, and 6th. And I was 15 when I went to Kickapoo Kamp. Probably should mention that. I don't know. And then also I went to Camp Cimarron, which was a Campfire Girls Camp, which is in Oklahoma, I think Logan County. Anyway, near the Cimarron River. It was good. Learned to tie knots there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. This is Susan Smith Nash, and you've been listening to the Fringe Journal.